Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk Shop. I am here with Sasha from Cheeky Zebra for episode 2 of season 6. And as I explained in episode 1, if you haven't watched that or listened back to that, we are documenting Sasha's wholesale journey. So in the first episode, we talked all about her previous experience about wholesaling, and we have also covered that a bit in a previous season. And today we are going to talk about the importance of having a structure, making time for your wholesale, how you manage your wholesale now versus before, who to target and what to say. We're going to talk a lot about mindset and overthinking and all that good stuff with some tips and other things that Sasha has come up with in the meantime to maybe procrastinate.
Definitely procrastinate.
And overall, we hope that this will be a really great episode for you. So, Sasha, what was the biggest change you've done to your schedule and how you structure yourself?
So when I did wholesale before, like flurried into it and tried, I noticed that I'm very much like a bull in a china shop. So I would have a surge of energy and motivation, and I'll be like, today I do wholesale. I would bam out a load of stuff. So I'd contact a load of people, and then I would feel panicky about them never hearing from them again, and I would never contact them, and I'd leave it alone. And I do think, I don't know what your experience is, but does this happen a lot with people in terms of like they'll suddenly wait until they feel motivated to do it, leave it alone, never think about it again?
I think yes, and a lot of times they don't even feel like contacting them. Like a common thing is that someone comes to me and they have a list of potential stockists they want to contact that they think are a good fit, but they haven't actually contacted any of them.
Okay, if you're listening to this right now and you have a list of stockists that you haven't contacted, that's really stupid. Just contact them. Like, please, just contact them right now.
I think that there's a lot of things that you can do to make that process easier. Having a process in the first place makes it easier.
So that's what we did, and what you helped me set up was just this realization that if I was going to keep waiting till I felt motivated to do it, then I wouldn't be consistent. So it would be a case of they'll hear from me once every 3 months and I wouldn't follow up. It would just be stupid.
And you're just constantly researching new shops instead of like actually taking them through a bit of a customer journey like you do with your retail sales, right? It is a customer journey. Like they might discover you in a shop, or they might see you on Instagram, and then they might save one of your posts because they think, oh, that would be a really good card for my dad or whatever. And dad's birthday might not be until in 9 months, so you might not get the sale until later.
Do you know what? That's a really good point. You know that quote that they always put around on the internet? I see this all the time. Like, a customer needs to have like 7 touch points with your brand before they buy. And I think one of the things I learned from talking to you is that I assumed like, yeah, but that's for B2C customers. Obviously other shops, they just need to see my cards once and then buy. And it's like, no, it's the same rules apply. Like, you have to show up regularly. So what we did is we set up a commitment of like, I can't remember, I think I said a couple of hours a week, 3 or 4 hours, maybe even 3. And what I did is I put it in my schedule. So it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, spend an hour doing wholesale. And wholesale for me means 2 parts. So it means outreach, so actually contacting new wholesale shops and putting them through the funnel that Therese helped me build. So we've got like, I know that they're at stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. And then also engaging with my existing people through the funnel to just follow up, send out sample packs where needed, and also sometimes really small things of just reminding yourself to just go have a look at their Instagram page. You told me about this, and just like, not in an overly fake way, but just kind of engage genuinely. So if you see something that they really like, just say that. If you think that was something funny, drop them a message. But like, it has to be genuine. Don't just spammy send like the same. Don't be a creep.
But the more you look at their business, the more you can see if you're generally a good fit for them.
And then you know almost how much effort to put in to continue to nurture the relationship as well.
Yeah, because people buy from people.
Yeah, that actually, I've noticed that a lot, especially with like small independent shops, is I like to think of them as non-human entities. And then over time I'm like, oh no, this is just like James. He's really down to earth. He's really funny. And he just happens to have a gift shop. And actually, once I humanized them, it made it easier for me to sell, because I was like, oh, it's just like talking to Truth. Like, they're just people. And you're like, oh, okay, it's fine.
For sure. It's not, I think in the beginning we put whoever we're selling to on a pedestal.
Yeah, and it can be really like intimidating.
Yeah, and it should be a two-way relationship, right? Yes, you are contacting them wanting to sell something, but you're doing that, you're not trying to sell them something that they're going to be stuck with. The hope is that they will also make money from your stock. So it's not like and also you're not forcing them to buy stuff.
I think when you said this to me, when we were working one-to-one, that was like a massive breakthrough for me, because I was like, oh, I almost felt like, oh, I'm trying to con them in a way, like, oh, I have to trick them into buying my cards. And then you were like, well, no, you idiot. Like, I keep saying idiot. She'd never calls me an idiot. I literally add the word idiot.
It's just how your mind works, I think.
Yeah.
Do you add idiot like when you're too hard on yourself?
Yeah, let's not make this therapy. But
Yeah.
I do have quite a critical voice in my head. So then, like, but what really kind of came through for me was like, actually, it was just a lack of confidence, because it was like, I do genuinely have great products. I remember saying to you one day, like, Therese, like, I really don't think my products are good. And I'm like, I don't know if everybody who like makes their own things have this feeling, but you have this sense of insecurity of like, maybe my cards aren't as good as other publishers and da-da-da. And like, do you know, they are good cards. And I think you asked me a question, didn't you?
Yeah. Like, how many cards have you sold this year?
Yeah, like you were like, how many cards have you sold in the last 12 months? And I was like, oh, like 50,000. Because obviously we do the ads, so we've had like massive scale. And then when she made me like hear that out loud and say it out loud, I was like, oh, 50,000 people liked our cards. So for me to then say like, oh, I can't sell because our cards are like, that's ridiculous. Like, and chances are everybody has some form of evidence that some like people do like what you're selling.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be 50,000 cards.
God, no, that was like that was ads. That was ads.
But it's also because it connected with people.
Yeah.
But, if your price point is over like, a bit more than a couple of few pounds. But you haven't been building your ad structure for that long or whatever, but just that the fact that, if your products are in front of a customer and they buy it, that is proof enough that there is a customer for your product.
I think just like look at your reviews. Like, I actually did that. I went off our phone call. I looked at our reviews and I was like, oh, Teresa's right. Like, look, this woman, Sarah, from wherever, she just said something really lovely, that she brought this for her brother-in-law and he loved it and it really made him laugh. Great. Like, that's, you kind of almost need like a bank of reminders maybe to use your reviews.
I've heard some people like they keep like a feedback folder in their email.
Yeah.
I definitely worked in places where we like printed like good feedback and like had like a lovely folder.
Oh,
which was nice.
That's actually we do it when we were really busy, like Valentine's Day. Like, every so often you will get a shitty email just because you're doing so many orders a day. And whenever like my family are helping with customer service, we have a rule of like, you have to read 5 good reviews before you respond to like a really like angry like customer service Royal Mail email. But I guess the point is that what you really taught me was I was coming from a mindset of like, I'm a car, like I'm trying to sell people something they don't want. Like, I'm a blind, those people who call you up and try and sell you blinds. Yeah. And I was like, that's not what's happening here. And it really made me realize like, actually it's a win-win situation. And if I was, and put yourself in the shoes of a shop is what you said to me as well, that really stuck with me. If I was having a shop and like these great stockists were contacting me to say like, hey, we really like your store, we genuinely like your store, and we think that we would genuinely be a good fit, then I would be so excited to hear from them, and you would be so excited to sell great stuff. Like, in my little shop, I'd actually be really happy. And then I was like, oh, so actually stop acting insecure and talking to people like you're conning them into selling blinds, and just remember
or anything or conning them to anything. You're not.
Yeah, you're like, because especially if you're because Therese taught me how to select shops that are like the right fit, then actually you're making their lives easier, is what you said to me. And I think that really
because
resonated.
you're going to them instead of them having to search for you. It's a lot less time on their behalf. And like, I think selling is all about making it easier for the customer to find you. Yeah.
And like, so actually, and ultimately, no one is going, and this was something that's a bit embarrassing to admit, but I was like, Therese, like, what if they're just going to buy to be sympathetic? And Therese was like, Sasha, no idiot that runs a shop, again, she doesn't call me an idiot, but she was like, no person that runs a shop is going to sympathy buy products when it's their livelihood. And then she also said to me, like, Sasha, do customers reorder? I'm like, yeah, some wholesale customers do often reorder. She's like, right. So again, like,
follow the evidence.
What are we doing here? So I wanted to share that because I think it's really easy if you're a bit, you know, if you've got some insecurities or whatever, to let that get in your way. Yeah. From the evidence.
I think the mindset thing is such a big thing, and I think it holds a lot of people back. It's why I want to do my sales course, which I find a lot harder to explain. Like, it's a much harder sell for me because it's so, you know, whatever is holding you back might be different for each person and stuff. But it's like, for me, that bit is like almost the most transformative for someone's business.
I would completely agree, because I would say that, like, when Teresa's launched, before working with Teresa, and like just generally, if somebody says to you like, oh, I'm doing mindset section of a sales course, you'd be like, that's nice, but just tell me how to sell. Like, I don't need this mindset shit. Just tell me how to sell.
And if you're not into that sort of thing,
yeah, it can feel really woo. But the truth is like, you know, in one or two of our calls, like, I did get quite emotional, just a bit. It's quite embarrassing, but like, because you don't realize till you address some of this mindset stuff, some of the things or like beliefs you have about yourself that might have come from childhood or whatever, just how much they're holding you back. Like, subconsciously, they were the reasons that I legitimately felt like, oh, I'm not very good, and I would just like not approach, frankly, or if I was approach almost apologetically, like, hi, I'm really sorry to bother you, and like, no. Whereas your energy needs to be like, hey, how are you? Like, I've got these great cards, I think we'd be a great fit. And so yeah, I just think
confidence sell too. So if you're not, if you're very insecure about it and apologetic, I mean, I don't think any of us would necessarily buy from someone that was very apologetic and didn't give us confidence.
But I can completely understand why you would be a bit apologetic if you're
of course.
But that's kind of why this mindset stuff, I think it's great that you did a whole section in the course. But like, because it is really powerful, and you almost don't realize how powerful it is until you've gone through it and been like, oh my God, all of that stuff was actually holding me back.
Yeah, and I think you were saying, like, it almost split into two parts for you. Like, insecurities is to start, which is maybe to do with the fact that you've done it before and it didn't really go that great.
See, she says everything so nicely.
I mean, on paper, actually, if you said to someone, I got my first order was from a big retailer and they ordered 10,000 cards, on paper that is a great success to lots of people.
Yeah. Fair.
But if you don't then say, well, I almost lost money on it, if you took the labor into account, that, you know, you didn't have to pay for because you got your family involved. but you know, like, that will stop you from starting again, right?
No, it definitely was. I was like, and also, you know, the fact that my family knew that, you know, we got this 10,000 order and Sasha hadn't really made much money, there was definitely an element of shame there on my part. And I felt a bit embarrassed, like, you let alone being like, guys, remember how I like didn't make any money and made you work really hard?
And now
I'm gonna do it again. Like, you know, those things, like, my family are amazing, but like, those things are in the back of my head, not necessarily from them, but like, you don't even realize the extent of how many insecurities you can be holding and how because there'll be people right now who you're like, why are they doing so well? And at least I found this, and I was like, and when I realized, I was like, oh, it's because their mindset's actually they're in the right headspace.
Yeah,
it's not even necessarily that their products are any better than or worse than you. I think it's because everybody's products, I imagine, are at a level of like fit for purpose. Like, they're good products. Like, nobody's made it this far with awful products. So I think the difference between the people who've got thriving wholesale and not actually probably has way more to do with their mindset than
for sure, and just putting themselves out there and being visible to potential buyers. I think that, you know, if we don't work on our mindset, it can show up in different ways, like overthinking, for example. Like, when you got your first order from the US, like, we were on WhatsApp and it was like, I have to do this and that or this and that, and you overcomplicated things.
I basically had a panic attack. I literally was messing to like, I don't understand because it's fairly simple, but I overthought it, got myself so confused, felt like I needed so many more forms. You literally sent me a voice, like, it was so helpful just to have you over WhatsApp, and you were basically like, Sasha, you just need to send this and this form and that's it. And I was like, but don't, and you're like, no, you just need to send this form, and that's it. And I was like, "Boo." And I think we went through that about 3 times.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I think I gave it a couple of hours and I was like, oh, Therese, it's all done. Simple. And she's like, yeah.
So another way that your insecurities, I think, showed up was that, you know, when it came to like starting to contact people, like we got to the point where you were like ready, we put the structure in place, we had your sales funnel, we talked about who you're going to target, what you're going to say, you had your templates, you knew what to personalize them with. But then you decided that you needed to become a gift company and get an alcohol license.
Oh God, it's actually so embarrassing. Right. So we've got to just be honest. And I think sometimes when I'm scared of doing something that's new, or I feel like I have to put myself out there and I have a fear of rejection, I think everybody, like, you know, for me and my cards, and I don't know if other people who've got small business feel this way, is that it's an extension of you. And I sometimes think that all who I am is my business. So if somebody rejects my business, I'm like, oh no, they're rejecting me and I'm going to die alone. And like, it brings up all these insane things. And so then Therese was like telling me like, we're ready, you need to go. And I decided to be like, hey Therese, like I know that we've got to do this wholesale thing, but I've just had a great idea. Like we're a card company, and wouldn't it be great if people could buy gifts from us as well? And so actually what I need to do now is like, it's a big priority at the moment, Therese, is that I need to invest in like, you know, an alcohol license. I need to buy source gifting products. And also it was the way in which I came to you and I was like, I need to do it yesterday.
Yeah.
Suddenly,
and you needed to get the order value up.
Yeah, I think I'd saw Thoughtful, and I'd seen, because they're like a major competitor to us, and they were like selling gifting options, and I was like, why don't I sell gifting options? This is the reason that I'm not rich, is because I'm not selling. And weirdly what it was a form of fear of doing. Sometimes you can be so scared of the sensible things that you know are right in front of you that will make you the most money, and so instead you can just decide that that's not the problem, create a completely new problem that would have cost so much. Like, it was really stupid, but you were so like, Therese was so good, she didn't like let it show that I'd lost my mind. She was really, you asked me really good questions, walked me through it, and you were like, so cash flow wise, like you're struggling at the moment, right? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, so an alcohol license can be quite expensive, and a gifting business is very different to the business you have currently. And you kept asking me these questions.
Yeah, just like little things that you probably had not considered. Like, you know, you would have to have bigger boxes. So you have to have lots of different size boxes for shipping in stock. Like, just really small things, but that would add a lot of time, a lot of cash.
Yeah.
It would tie up a lot.
It was really not like, and it was just a form of procrastination from fear.
Yeah,
100%.
and I don't think that, you know, like those sort of things, like becoming more and more one-stop shop, is maybe like a step in the future.
Yeah,
it's not a bad idea. Like, it's just not a great idea for right now.
Yeah, it's like, that's exactly what you said. And I don't know, like, if this, did you find this happens with, like, because obviously you know a lot of small businesses who move to wholesale, you help them through. Is that a common thing where when people get a bit scared of the work in front of them, they will like divert their attention somewhere, something a bit more shiny that feels a bit more like easy and shiny?
Generally, like, it's developing more products.
Oh, guys, shout out everyone who's listening who now feels like really heard, and they're like,
like, most of the time it's like, I have to make this product, or I have to re-photograph all my images because all my images are really bad.
That's
so or I need a new website, or I need I don't know, like, it's just like, you need a studio, you need like someone to help you. Like, a lot of times when you get to the stage where you are actually ready to start selling, you put in like lots of other things you have to start before you are ready, and then you don't have to do the uncomfortable bit.
That's like probably so apt. You should make that into a reel, because I think everybody would just feel personally attacked. Like,
I don't want to attack anyone.
No, this is why Therese is so lovely, because that's actually like, you genuinely, you were so delicate about it. But I'm kind of reassured to know that that's what everybody does. Like, it's kind of your go-to, especially if you're a creative person. When you feel a bit spooked, you're like, oh, it's almost perfectionism as well. It's this thing of like, oh, but because I was thinking like, oh, I can't send out the wholesale card because all the cards aren't perfect yet. And it's like, that's just not true.
And I think that's like one thing that, you know, when you, how you say this, like, in a nice way, Like, when you work with someone one-to-one and you get help, you know, you are not like essentially paying me to agree with everything you say. Like, you want to be challenged but also supportive. So like, I'm not going to say it in a nasty way.
Can I just say,
but I think it's really important that, you know,
if you hadn't have challenged me, frankly, because we've just said I've got potentially about to have about 9 stockists by the end of the year. We're looking to get that. If you hadn't have challenged the way I was thinking, and you did do it in like such a lovely way, I wouldn't have my 9 stockists. And at the end of the day, I'm working with you because that's where we wanted to get to.
Yeah, that's what you want. And I think that if you are like, I think this is where I see my courses versus like working one-to-one. Like, you know, with the courses, if you're a self-starter, you don't have such a mindset thing. You just need the information to go away, do the thing, and that's all you need. That will give you enough confidence. Then that's great. But if you are someone more like Sasha, where you will come up with new things to like
procrastinate,
then maybe one-to-one is better.
Yeah, and I think people will know that themselves. There'll be people who are listening
if you're
to
honest
this,
with yourself,
and they'll be like, yeah, I'm a Sasha. And there'll be people who are listening to me like, no, I just need to know what to do, and then I will just fly.
Yeah.
And actually, I think also, if you don't know, you could do the course, you'll have all your knowledge, and then you'll realise whether you're actually executing or not.
I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done courses, and then I've gone away and found someone to work one-to-one with because I knew I wasn't going to do the thing.
And it wasn't that you didn't understand the material, it's that you needed the accountability.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the benefits that I found working one-to-one, which is a bit like, it's weird because like you know me quite well now, which means that like I've been a bit vulnerable, so you know some of my insecurities, which is scary. But what's made it so helpful is that like when we're working together, you already know where I'm likely to slip up. So you're already in our sessions being like, so Sasha, like, how are you going to make sure that you kind of, you won't say it like this, but you're like, so how are you going to keep accountable to yourself to these actions and not get distracted by other things?
Yeah. Because
you always seem to know like when I'm likely to just like go off on another tangent.
I think when you go very quiet on me, like you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
Do you know what's funny? Is that I'm smiling because I'm like, shit. She's actually so right.
Yeah, it's but you know, it takes a while to get there. And I would say if you're going to work with someone one-to-one on your business, the more open you are about your insecurities, the more help you can get.
Yeah, I definitely got way more out of it by just telling you the whole truth.
Yeah.
And that means that sometimes I do have to tell her like, Teresa, I'll be honest, I've done nothing this week. Yeah. And actually, I think we have to be honest about that too. That's going to happen. And it's almost just like any other thing that you're doing, like whether you're quitting smoking or whatever. You just have to like get back on it and get back on it. And if you just keep getting back on it, then you'll find that you're doing enough.
Yeah, I mean, like, we have also worked together quite intensely, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like, we have had almost weekly or bi-weekly calls, depending on, like, the week.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, a lot of times I work with clients on, like, a monthly basis. But I think for you, like, it depends on your personality, I think.
And it also, yeah, I definitely, because for me, I need more whip. Like, I definitely need somebody to be a bit, like, afraid of letting down to keep me as accountable, I think, which is not necessarily for everybody. But you know, the people that you do one-to-ones with, do they still get kind of, like, access to ask you questions and things in between?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that's most helpful, is when you have, like, a bit of a panic, I can quickly just be like,
And not everyone does it. So I have clients that, you know, I talk to almost daily, like not talk to, but like, you know, just messaging. And then I have clients that I don't hear from until next month, and they don't want me to chase them up in between because that makes them feel like, you know, they're back at school and like they almost rebel against that.
I love how like you then able to individualize it for everybody.
Well, I don't know if I always get it right, but like I hope I do most of the time. I'm
very sure you probably do.
Because like we are different. Like it's actually going back really far. I don't know if I was on Josephine Brooks' podcast or she was on my podcast, but we established that we were completely different in the way we learned.
Okay.
Like I want the carrot, and she like does not want to like.
She didn't care about the carrot.
She doesn't.
She didn't care about the carrot.
But like it was really interesting, actually.
Interesting.
And it made me really think about how we learn differently and how we, you know, some people would feel personally attacked by like me checking up on them.
Oh wow! Yeah,
but
that would
like
make
whereas
sense.
like well, that's maybe a bit.
No,
extreme.
they don't. Yeah, but they might feel a bit triggered in a way of like, oh, like
no, I'm not going to do it now.
yeah. Who's she to ask me
I'm
what
an
to
adult.
do?
I can make my own decisions.
Yeah, I'm not paying you to mother me, Therese.
Whereas Sasha is more like,
I'm like, Mom.
yeah. So I think we learn differently. So whatever, like, you know, like if you're listening and you're more like, no, I just want the information, like that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I think most of what we spoke about today is the mindset stuff, but I think that has been the most powerful. Like we've mentioned overthinking, we've talked about the structure. So I mentioned that you gave me like and we set up a workflow. So like that really helped take the thinking out of it, because like I don't have to think what to do about contacting a stockist, because I have a very clear structure. Like I know what I'm saying to them at first. I like, obviously it's a bit tailored, but I know what I'm doing the next week and the week after with them. So that really helped. And then the other big thing was just putting in the time. So the commitment to be like, every week, these days, I reach out, and that's all you can do really. And then it starts to compound, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And what would you say to someone that wants to, you know, that is having a bit of like a need to shift their mindset? What would you say was like your number one thing?
They need to shift their mindset in regards to wholesale selling. I would say number one, I would say do a piece of action just to prove to yourself that you've done it, because that gives yourself evidence that you actually aren't too afraid to show up and you did it. So if there's one stockist right now in your mind who you're like, I've been thinking for a while, I should probably message them, but I don't feel ready. Even if you're not fully ready, like assuming that you have the bare minimum, like you have some form of wholesale marketing thing, just send them an email like right now. Like literally just be like, hey, thought we'd be a good fit. This is why. I would actually just pick one and send one email.
So you just get started basically.
But just one. And then I would go and figure out like what structure you need to put in place for it to work with you. Like if you need the information, do the course. If you would benefit from knowing, like having a stage, like a flow, then do the course and do it that way. Or if it's mindset stuff, then just really think about like just think about the evidence you've got in your favor. You know what we spoke about today? Like how you asked me those questions of like, well, how many cards have you sold already? Or like, what have some of your customers said? Whatever it is, you need to kind of figure out for yourself why you're holding yourself back, and then kind of tell yourself like the opposite.
And I think as a byproduct of like talking about your sales mindset, you have also shown up more online and actually sold.
It's changed everything. When I realized and I got a bit more confidence in my card through working with you, I was reminded of that my cards are actually really hilarious. Like they are. Like that's not, you know, and if they're not hilarious to you, that's fine, but they're hilarious to a bunch of, like, they are funny to people,
to lots of people
with a good sense of humor. If you don't find them funny, you're just not funny. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm kidding. Therese didn't tell me to say that. But like, no, as in what I mean is
that's how her cards are though. Like they're a bit sassy.
They are a bit, they are a bit sassy. Like you're not going to be for everyone, but there's 7 billion people. Like you're definitely going to be for somebody. So like that was a big thing. And I've lost my train of thought. So basically that kind of whole mindset shift made me realize, like when I was working with Therese, was like, oh, so 1, confidence back in my product, 2, confidence with my own ability, like just this idea of like, I'm actually sharing great stuff with people. And when you're in that energy, I found that I was selling more online, because Therese kind of said to me like, what are you doing about your online sales? And I was like, nothing.
I think I actually said, what actions do you take every day to make sales?
And I literally, it was, you know, that thing, like that audio, just crickets. It was just like, there was just silence, and I was like, I don't know what you mean. And she was like, no, what do you do every day to sell your products? And I was like, no, nothing. And that was really impactful for me, actually, and a bit emotional.
Now you do something every day, like even whether that is a newsletter or like an Instagram post that is actually about, you know, driving sales somehow.
I was almost afraid to sell on Instagram, which was so weird, because
you were doing
doing that same thing. I was doing this apologetic, like, I don't want to bother people. They literally follow you because they like your card.
they want to buy from you.
They want to buy. They bought before and they support your business. Like you literally have people in front of you that actually follow you because they like your cards. They want to support your business.
Your
they like your brand. They like your products, right? They're literally the most targeted people for you. and they want to buy and you're not going to make their life easier. Like, I was too afraid to show. And actually I realized that when I started getting into this fun energy of selling more online,
and have fun with it too.
I've had so much fun with it. And it doesn't mean that it has to be like, buy these now, shop now. It's more like, hey guys, these are my top 5 sellers from last week. Like, card charts, like, this is number 1. Oh no, this week this card's been taken down.
Yeah.
It's fun, and I've like, you find a way to have fun with it.
Yeah.
You're a lot more confident with it. And since I've been doing that, so all the wholesale mind stuff translated to all other parts of my business, and my organic sales, we said yesterday, I had the highest sales day of organic sales direct to my website that we've ever had. And it was purely through showing up more online with this energy of just like being excited about what you do.
Yeah, sharing your excitement. I think the first thing you did after we were talking about, like, one of the first thing you did after we talked about, like, what are you doing for your sales today, sort of thing, was that you did that Instagram sale.
Yeah.
Where you, like, cleared a lot of, like, older stock.
Yeah, so Therese, basically, after I got off the call with it, it really, really resonated with me. And I had some notebooks that I wanted to clear. So I literally just went on my Instagram and was like, we do these hilarious notebooks. If you send me a reply to this message with an emoji, and I'll give you a custom code, and you'll get this % off, but it only lasts 24 hours. And I sold loads of notebooks because people like the notebooks, and like, they just needed to hear about them. And it's just that simple.
You never talked about them.
I never spoke about them. And I'm like, why is nobody buying notebooks? Because you never speak about them.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do with your sales mindset. I think we hold back naturally sometimes because we're fearful of being too in your face to people.
Yeah, which is weird because I think that's not for everyone. Some people will be listening to this and they'll be like, absolutely not. But I think there's definitely a camp of people that we're in that's just naturally very conscientious and just this fear of like being too much or bothering people.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So this is all like about selling, and we are also going to be covering how it's going and like the results, or we're going to record that a bit later to see where Sasha is a bit later in the year, which will be fun.
Scary.
But the episodes will be going out every Monday, so we hope that you tune in then.
Yeah, hope to see you soon.
Oh no, wait, stop, pause.
We've just forgot a load of things.
Yeah, where can people find you?
All right, sorry, we are cheekyzebra.com, so that's the website, and then if you want to find us on Instagram, it's cheekyzebra.com, but obviously the dot spelled DOT, so...
And if you want to find out where you can find out more about me, or if you want some of my help, you can find that in the show notes and with all the links and stuff.